This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has reported that 20 people were murdered in the first 7 days of 2019. This is 25 fewer than the 45 homicides recorded in the first 7 days of 2018. Quoting police statistics, Mr. Holness said 11 of the murders so far recorded happened in Kingston and St. Andrew. He shared this information while making a statement to the House of Representatives yesterday.
As at January 7, 2019, 20 murders have been recorded, compared to the same period last year when we had 45 recorded. In St. Catherine North, for 2018, murders decreased by 28.5% and shootings by 40.9% respectively compared to 2017.
Holness revealed that the 1,287 murders recorded last year leave Jamaica with a homicide rate of approximately 47 per 100,000.
This is almost 3 times higher than the average for Latin America and the Caribbean region, which has the highest homicide rate globally of 16 per 100,000 of population. We are at approximately 8 times higher than the global average of 6 per 100,000. Bear in mind that New York, a metropolis of more than 8 million people, had a murder rate of 3.3 per 100,000, or a total of 289 murders last year.
The government and the opposition have agreed to look at ways to tackle crime in the post-state of public emergency era. The security measure ended on January 2 in St. Catherine North in sections of the corporate area this week and will end on January 31 in St. James. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips and their respective teams met this week to discuss issues of national security and crime management and the desire to have a national consensus on both issues. Both the government and opposition agreed to continue discussions on points of agreement while they seek wider consensus in the interest of Jamaica's national security. Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson appeared before Parliament's Internal and External Affairs Committee yesterday, and he appealed to the members of Parliament to support the continuation of the states of public emergency. General Anderson says, as it stands, the sheer number of murders is weighing down the law enforcement and justice system.
That there is a volume of murders that you will have that your systems will not be able to process. From an investigative perspective, from a justice perspective, the chain, when you have upwards of 1,000 murders, it's too much for that system to process in a year.
He discredited suggestions by Chairman Fitz Jackson that murders were seeing reductions outside of the states of emergency. General Anderson noted that last major reduction in crime followed the state of emergency, which took place during the Tivoli operations to apprehend Christopher Dodds-Coke back in 2010. But the police commissioner says that particular state of emergency did not benefit the parish of St. James.
If you look at some historical data, where you had higher than, you came down in which year, it is a bit at my fingertip, to 1,005, when it was prior to then, higher than what it is now. And it came down without a state of emergency.
No, it didn't. It came out down right at the back end of a state of emergency and tumbled 40% as soon as the state of emergency over a period. Also, St. James did not benefit from that. The figures we have now in St. James, the last time they were seen was in 2003. We've rewound it 15 years. That is where we're at now. 15 years.
What I'm trying to get at, Commissioner.
He says, while the country remains above a certain number of murders, the SOEs are still needed. There is a call for more focus to be placed on the investigation, prosecution, and punishment of sexual offenders. Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Jeremy Taylor made the call yesterday in light of the reported 342 sexual offences cases which are booked to be dealt with during this term, including 189 rape cases, 76 cases of sexual intercourse with a person under 16 years of age, 24 buggery cases, 9 cases of grievous sexual assault, 7 sexual touching cases, and 5 cases of child pornography. The government of Jamaica has announced that it will take legislative action for ownership of the 49% share in the local oil refinery Petrojam held by Venezuelan state-owned oil and natural gas company PDVCarib. Speaking at a press conference yesterday, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith said the government will enact special legislation that will allow it to forcibly retake the stake held by Venezuela. The decision comes after uncertainties, in addition to failed attempts by the government to get Venezuelan state-owned oil and natural gas company PDVCarib to hold up its end of a joint venture agreement, which resulted in the sale of Petrojam shares in August 2006 and February 2007, respectively. The agreement had called for the upgrading and expansion of the refinery to improve its competitiveness and meet local and international market demands. But Johnson-Smith said these objectives were not met and that this poses a risk to the economy. Meanwhile, the parliamentary opposition has described as unwarranted and premature the government's decision to take over Petrojam shares held by the Venezuelan government, describing it as a hostile takeover. Opposition spokesman on energy Philip Paulwell said no apparent effort was made to use international arbitration organizations to settle any dispute which may have arisen between the two governments, especially in light of reports that a settlement price was the only outstanding issue. Mr. Paulwell said the situation requires further explanation, particularly as it relates to Jamaica's energy security and future relationship with Venezuela. 59 people died as a result of injuries they sustained in road crashes across northern and eastern parishes last year. That's according to a report from the Ministry of Transport and Mining's Road Safety Unit. 5 people were killed in 4 crashes last year when compared to 4 in 2017 for the parish of Portland. Similarly, 18 people died in 17 crashes that occurred in St. Mary in 2018 when compared to 15 who died in 2017. For St. Anne, 34 people died in 31 crashes when compared to 25 in 2017. And 2 people died in 2 crashes in St. Thomas when compared to 9 in 2017. The parishes account for 15.5% of the 379 people who died in crashes last year when compared to 16% of the 322 last year. On January 8, the US dollar ended trading at Jamaican $129.47, up by 42 cents. That's according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily foreign exchange trading summary. The Canadian dollar ended trading at Jamaican $99.58, up from Jamaican $97.87. While the British pound sterling ended trading at $166.16 Jamaican, up from $162.76. In regional news, Guatemala has said it is withdrawing from a UN-backed anti-corruption commission, which has been investigating the country's president, Jimmy Morales. The BBC is reporting that Guatemalan Foreign Minister Sandra Jovel on Monday announced that the UN body had 24 hours to leave the country. She said Mr. Morales would continue the fight against corruption, but that there had been a misunderstanding about the investigations into his affairs. Elected 3 years ago, Mr. Morales initially supported the UN Commission. The mandate of the International Commission Against Impunity in Guatemala has helped prosecutors bring cases against dozens of senior officials and executives. However, when Mr. Morales became the subject of its investigations, the president said he would review its mandate. His comments were criticized and led to street protests against official corruption and demonstrations demanding his resignation. In sports, two-time Olympic gold medalist Veronica Campbell-Brown has announced on social media that she is expecting her first child. The 36-year-old sprinter, who has been out of competition since the 2017 athletics season, said she is uncertain if she will return to competition after having the baby. VCB is quoted saying, "We look forward to parenthood and all the joys and challenges that come with it. We pray for strength and wisdom to be the best parents possible," end quote. She added, quote, "At this moment, I am uncertain if I will return to competition as the main focus is to welcome our baby and to provide the best environment filled with love, warmth, and care," end quote. Campbell-Brown has won a total of 8 Olympic medals for Jamaica. And that's the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Pleasant viewing.